Welcome to the Lead Magnets Podcast, a show for business leaders who want clarity on their marketing direction to help them grow and scale their business to the next level. I am Julie Nichols, owner of Julie Nichols Marketing.
And I'm Dan Gershenson, owner of Caliber Brand Strategy and Content Marketing. We are two fractional chief marketing officers who lead marketing departments for small and medium-sized businesses who want to level the playing field and level up.
And today we are talking about optimizing your LinkedIn profile. Oh, Dan, I know you love LinkedIn. LinkedIn is your jam, isn't it?
It's a good jam. I like it. It's always challenging me. It's always it's always got new and different stuff that they don't always announce out there to the world, and you just discover. So, for folks who are tuning into this episode, don't worry. We're not going to give you some of the typical stuff. We're really going to give you some things that you just may not have thought about in relation to your profile. Some really good quick hits that can do a lot of good, and things that we've found. And let us know afterwards in the comments that when we send this out. When you have comments at all, other suggestions, we'd love to hear them.
Okay, perfect. So here's what I recommend, Dan. I think we should go through a LinkedIn profile from top to bottom. And we'll just kind of work our way through it. Literally, I am looking at my own LinkedIn profile to help me figure out to make sure I'm not going to be missing anything. But I think that we should just kind of go in that order, and we're going to give you some tips on how you could make your LinkedIn profile better.
Yes.
So let's talk about the banner. The banner is like the big, long picture that when somebody clicks on your profile, that's the big, wide one at the very top. And a lot of people have nothing in there. They may have chosen a template that LinkedIn provides, which it's very easy to create a template in something like Canva. And I highly recommend that you do, because there's also templates within Canva for a LinkedIn banner that you can just adjust to your liking. And so I feel it's better to have something that you've customly made as opposed to something that is provided by LinkedIn, because it really shows that you've taken the time and you can really feature yourself so much better. It's the first thing that people are going to see. It's a huge billboard for your brand. So you should be taking advantage of it.
Yeah, for sure. I think so let's give you just an example here of some stuff. You don't have to do everything we say, but these are some really good things. For mine, I should have a little shout out to Anna Sillen, who is a photographer and videographer in the Chicagoland area, and she is someone who happened to take pictures, all my brand pictures, and so I really took advantage of the finished product on the banner. And to Julie's point, you don't have to have a photographer. You can do a cool thing with a picture in Canva. But the nice thing about having a photographer do this stuff, and then they should actually be able to size it for you, is there's a LinkedIn banner size that was made. And in that banner, it wasn't just my picture, but it actually has, it says fractional CMO on it. It actually has some of the services bullet pointed out, and a few nice recommendation quotes that are all on the banner. And it's not that busy. It has some good, wonderful snapshot stuff that people could take away. So in other words, in just that first, say, 10 seconds of looking at your profile, just like a billboard, as Julie's saying, they've got some cool takeaways of, oh, okay, this guy's a fractional CMO. He does this kind of stuff. Here's some people who said some things, and we haven't even gotten into the profile yet. Mm-hmm. So, give some thought to that, because I think that's a really good piece of real estate.
So I'm going to give you guys a little quick tip. Your LinkedIn banner, this is at a time of, press time? A time of publication of this podcast episode. The dimensions are 1,584 pixels by 396 pixels. So if you were to go into Canva and just basically put that in, that would be the perfect size. Now, logistically, I really want you to put more of the information on the right side of the banner, because guess what? Once you upload it to your profile picture is going to be covering a lot of that real estate. That bottom left corner, you want to try not to have anything behind that. It just looks better when you have your banner up and you're looking at the full profile. Clearly they can click on it and see the actual banner alone, but it just looks really great if you don't have anything in that bottom right corner. Like Dan said, have a couple, will have, your title or what you do for people. If you have, a short value proposition that you've already written that you can put on there, that would be also very helpful to immediately tell people what it is that you do. I love the idea of quotes. Those are great. And if you have maybe like 3 things that describe you, that's also great to have. You don't necessarily need to have a photo of yourself on it, but it doesn't hurt. And it's nice to have like a different photo than the one that you're using for your profile. I would also recommend that the banner be in your brand colors. And if you haven't chosen your brand colors yet, well, this is a perfect time to do that. If there's a certain color scheme that you are naturally attracted towards, that would be great. Or, if you already have a website, you already have colors you've been using, use those as well to kind of just help it connect, put everything together for the clients you're trying to attract. Do we need to say anything else about the banner, or are we good?
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. How about the headline? I think that's a huge part of this area too, right?
I have so many feelings about the headline. I know I have feelings about the headline, Dan. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing about your headline is that in different places in LinkedIn, it shows only a certain number of characters. So if you're commenting on somebody's post, it's really only showing like the first 10 words of your headline. So you want to make sure that the first 10 words are exactly spelling out what it is that you do, so that when somebody just at a glance is seeing your comment in somebody's post, they're like, oh, that person looks cool. I'm interested in what they're doing. Let me go click on their profile. Maybe I'll follow them. So you want to make sure that first 10 words for sure. And then the other thing about LinkedIn is that when you comment on a comment, it shows even less of your headline. It really only shows like the first 5 words or less, depending on how long the words are. So keep that in mind. Whenever you're putting up a post of your own, it's really doing more of like 10 to 15 words. So it needs to be very targeted. And I like to recommend to my clients that the first 10 words really explain who you are and what you do for your clients as concisely as you can.
Yep.
So
yeah,
what do you think about that?
I think that's great. And I think also the opportunity here for you folks out there is that so many people, I would say 9 out of 10 people are really good at saying, I'm this title from this business. And they don't say a lot more beyond that. And that's a shame, because they might say, pretend if it said Julie Nichols, owner of Julie Nichols Marketing, or Dan Gershenson, owner of Caliber. What story does that even tell? It doesn't say anything about us at all. Okay, we're marketing people, but that's about it. And so I would say, think about how you can really show who you serve, and as specifically as you can in one sentence. So I'm just going to, give you an example here of my own. And I will tell you this, next week it could change. I'm okay with that. I really don't see, because we're not writing Shakespeare here. We're not like trying to commit like something down to tablets. We're just trying to always be a work in progress of being clearer and clearer of who we help. So mine says, fractional CMO leading multi-generational businesses with tiny marketing departments toward a stronger brand voice, better aligned team, and higher paying clients. So I have, yes, who I am, but I also have who I help. I have a little bit of the issue that they face. They're a little resource challenged. And then what I help them do, like the 3 little quick takeaways that I might help them move towards. And I have to give a little shout out here to Jared Gibson from Outworks, because he gave me a thing at the very end of that, the second sentence, which could be something personality-wise that you always change out every single week. So, I it can be anything. I'm a Pearl Jam fan. I don't, whatever it is. And it's just a little something that shows how you are different. And there's nothing wrong, personal or professional, to just throw in that little extra something if you have the room. But don't leave it to just be the title and place of business. That's just not enough to go on.
I love it, Dan. I don't think I've ever really read your full headline. So I love how at the end you say, may or may not tell you what you want to hear, which is...
Yeah, yes. I might as well be straight with you now.
It's very on brand for you.
But see, 2 weeks ago I said I'm currently listening to the new Beyonce album. I mean, I don't have a real method to this. I love that you're doing that, because you're doing two different things. You're letting somebody see that you have a personality and what you might be like to work with. And you're also updating your profile regularly, which the algorithm loves. They want you to update your profile on a regular basis. That is showing that you are active and that they're going to show your stuff to more people that way. Yeah, no, 100%. That's a great point.
My profile is similar to Dan's, but mine is chopped up a little more. So I use bars in between, and mine is fractional CMO and then a bar. Marketing leader for businesses ready to scale, another bar. Super connector, another bar. Community leader, another bar. Podcast creator, another bar. And Parks and Rec super fan. So I give them a little something that tells them, I'm a comedy fan, and that's the kind of like that. If I was to name any show, Parks and Recreation is like quintessential me. Like if I were to be in any show, that's the show I would live in. And so I think somebody who sees that and maybe knows the show can be like, oh yeah, okay, I like this girl because I relate, because we both watch the same show and really like it. So just like something to show them what your personality is, I think is really fun. So totally in mind. Okay. Totally. So let's keep going down. So let's see. Next in our section would be the about section, right?
Yeah. And don't forget one little thing I wanted to throw in here is in the just under the headline, you have an opportunity there to add a button. Yes, thank you. I was just going to say that. No. So I happen to have one that says book an appointment, and it links to my calendar. Sometimes it's really nice to have something like that. Just make it easier for people, to get a hold of you in that way. You can, maybe have something with your contact information, but be a little more aggressive than that. Really have the opportunity where they can just jump on your calendar and you don't have to do anything. It's right there for them. Sorry. I love that. Yeah. No, putting that call to action right up there is really great. So that's all in that like profile settings where you're like your name and the headline, it's all in there. Yep. Okay, so next, the about section. So I also have a lot of feelings about the about section, Dan. A couple of, me, I'm the logistical person over here. Logistically, I feel like you need to make sure that you're writing it in the first person. Mm-hmm. You want the person to feel like they're hearing directly from you. This is your opportunity right here to show somebody who you are and what you do. And through the tone of your writing, really try to convey what you would be like to work with. So I love when I see paragraphs that are broken up into smaller paragraphs where they're not such a giant chunk of text that a lot of times people will just pass over or skim and not really get the idea. Making your paragraphs no more than like 3 sentences, I think is a really nice thing to aim for. And then using perhaps some bullet lists. You can put emojis in this as well. So that kind of helps to break it up visually and let people kind of make it easier for people to organize the information in their mind. Mm-hmm. So just logistically, that's what I would recommend. You want it to tell a story. You want to be able to speak to your target client, really the person that you want, or really your target connector, the person you want to connect with.
don't be afraid to say directly in there, I'm looking to connect with blank, and
Love that.
describe
Yeah.
that person. I think that that's not a bad idea at all. I think like that could really help you out.
In fact,
What
I think
else?
what you're talking about there with the target client is you can even take this to the extent where it doesn't have to be so much about you, and that's going to maybe shock a little some people, but you don't have to do all. Here's everything you ever want to know about me. Try this maybe instead, where okay, here's who you are. Here's what keeps you up at night. Here's your current process, but here's what you'd love instead of what's going on right now. Here's what you need right now. And by the way, here's me who can help you with all of that stuff. And and your point of difference and how you can help with everything above. And why would I say to do that? I think because if you have somebody who sees all that and they go, dang, this guy gets me, like it's so different than so many other people who are really telling everything about themselves and not really using the opportunity to connect with someone who could just have a first meeting with that individual. And so I think try that as well. I think you will stand out in a pretty remarkable way if you can really just speak to all of the folks, their pains and some of the challenges they may be, finding out right now.
Yeah, I feel like you've just touched for the first time in our podcast on the idea of that your customer is the hero and you are their guide. That is like, there's so many
Oh
books
man, are
written
you
on
going to
this
do this
topic.
story brand crap on me now?
I'm going to drop some
Jesus.
story brand on you.
Oh, man.
Story brand is a method
a
of marketing.
I just did a post on. See, this
We're
is what's great.
nerding out over here now.
Yeah, man. No, that's more power to everyone who uses that. Don't come after me, story brand people.
But I did buy the book. I actually paid money for that. So I think it's fair that I can talk about it. So really think about that, what journey your customer is on, and you're talking directly to them. You're going to hear me talk about this a lot over, our entire podcast. So that's just a little peek into, that little idea. Okay. Anything else we want to say about the about section?
Gosh, one thing that I'm thinking of is the next step that you could really have with somebody is at the very bottom. You don't need a lot, but for example, I say here's our next step. If you like everything that you've read so far, and a discovery meeting, what they may get. And if you like that, then sure, we talk about engagement. But then it has the email and phone number for me. So not everybody has to do that, but it is a really nice thing to do because remember, this is basically like your website away from your website. It really has to be treated like that, and you can't expect people to scroll all the way down, no matter how good a profile is. I don't care what anybody says. It's really about, if you're saying top of the fold kind of stuff with the website that you have, and in other words, it has to be sort of the top half that's seen the most. Treat your LinkedIn profile similarly. If it's the top half, what do you want to say most of all in that area? And if they didn't scroll down, don't leave anything on the cutting room floor to be said later on, because I would err on the side of them not seeing that.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Dan, because like just now when I was on because I'm totally snooping on your LinkedIn profile now, is that I had to click to see past the first paragraph and a half.
Yeah.
So whatever you really want to make sure they see, put that at the top to make them want to click see more.
Mm-hmm.
See more. See more butts. I'm a big Simpsons fan, so you might hear some random Simpsons quotes as we go. Okay, and then that call to action at the bottom is so important because, wanting to, make sure that people know, okay, well, yeah, I actually do want to meet this guy. How do I do that? Boom.
Yep. Yep.
email, phone number, send me a DM, whatever it is, however you want them to engage with you. I think it's smart that you have your email and phone number right there because, some people who might want to engage with you might not have enough credits in their LinkedIn account that day to be able to send you an email. Or they might, not want to go that far. They might just want something easy. Like, okay, I can shoot him an email really quick. So that's really smart. I'm definitely updating my LinkedIn profile after looking at yours because now I have some good ideas.
No, I mean, and that's the beauty of it. It's never a finished product at all. And that's the cool thing. To your point about the algorithm and that you always can, if you really want to, you can have something go out to your whole network every time you make an update. But I don't do that personally, but even so, I know that if I make any kind of update, it's going to be a good thing. And so, no, that's perfect. The other one, as long as we're in the neighborhood of about, if you, those of you who might be familiar with the featured section, this is a featured different area. It's literally called featured, and it has changed in, say, the last few months, at least. This is one of those things that LinkedIn just does not announce. But there's a featured section that allows you to put in things such as your latest post, recommendations, links to any videos or other types of articles, documents. So let's say you have a one sheet or something like that you want a brochure that you want to upload. All of these things, unless I'm crazy, I don't think these were available to us that long ago under featured. You usually just had to have a certain type of thing that you could upload. That's changed dramatically now. So looking at mine right now, I have a post, which is promoting this very podcast, a recommendation from a friend of mine, a link to a video. And if you go a little bit farther over, a one sheet. And so all of these things, these assets, to go with our theme here of put it up front rather than leave it for the bottom, these are great areas for you to put some of your most powerful brand assets and other things to put your best foot forward.
I love that. And just for our friends at home that don't know what a one sheet is, it's basically a one-page outline of your business, what you do, how you help your clients, how to get in touch with you. It's like if you were going to be walking around and passing out a flyer to explain to somebody what it is that you do and how they can reach you, that's your one page. So if you don't already have one of those, that's something good to put together that you could then feature on your LinkedIn profile. So I love that. Yeah. And I feel like when you're curating, we'll say, I'm going to put out my fancy, I work at a museum, the museum of my LinkedIn profile, is that we're going to curate what are going to be the very first 3 posts. Because as Dan mentioned, you can scroll over and see more, but most people aren't going to do that. They're just going to see the first 3 things, and then they're going to keep going. So you want to make sure that those 3 things that you put out there are your most important things. If you have your lead special offer that you typically use to get clients, you absolutely want that right there. If you have a podcast, like I have that on mine as well, Dan, featuring our new podcast. If you have a video that very clearly tells people who you are and what you do, I think that's a great idea too. Or it could just be simply a link to your website. But you want to make sure that those first 3 things are once again, it's like a billboard. You want to make sure it's featuring the best of the best.
Indeed.
Okay. Anything else on the featured section?
No, that's pretty good. If you're filling that out and you're starting to put some stuff out there, at least 3 pieces onto your featured, that's the area that's going to be seen first. Then you're in really good shape.
Okay, perfect. We're at the activity section next, and I was going to skip over this, but I feel like it's worth it to say something really quick about it. So the activity section is showing posts that you write as well as comments that you make on other people's posts. And I feel like it's important that this not show things that are super old. So if you haven't commented on anybody's post and you haven't posted anything in months, start doing that because it's going to show the last 3 things that you did. So it's going to especially show things that you've posted, and then when you've commented on people's things. So, get in the habit of, we're going to do a whole other episode on LinkedIn posting and commenting, because that's just how much we have to say about it. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, start getting in the habit of at least commenting on people's posts, because that's going to start popping up in your activity feed. And then people will see that you're active on LinkedIn. Whenever I'm interested in somebody's profile and I kind of want to see how much they do on LinkedIn, if I see that their activity is like months and months old, like the last time they commented on anything was 6 months, that's going to tell me they're probably not on this very much, and it really might not be worth my while to connect with them, follow them, reach out to them, because who knows if they're even going to see it? Who knows if they're even going to respond to me? So if you want people to really have the perception that you're active on this, on this channel, you need to be putting some stuff out there.
And here's the thing on the activity stuff is that, and we've talked about this before, is that sometimes there's this black hole of this space of people who have seen our stuff and maybe even gone to our profile, and but they haven't commented or they haven't done anything on, and so I think sometimes people forget that there are a bunch of people who will sometimes come to you or me a few months from now, and they'll be like, oh yeah, I really like that post you did on blah blah blah, and I'm like, I don't remember you commenting. I don't even remember you liking it.
I like to call them lurkers. They're lurking.
That's a good term. But yeah, I mean, so don't forget the lurkers, because those people could just be checking you out, and don't be like, well, gee, I don't know how they looked at me. I don't know. I don't have the algorithm to LinkedIn. If I did, I would give it to you right now. Just know that they're out there. And
I'm putting that down on a Post-it, Dan. It's going up with, it's just data. We're now going to add, don't forget the lurkers.
The lurkers are there. And those lurkers many, many times are probably decision makers who I understand you probably just have to have a little bit of trust, a little bit of faith, because they are unseen. You don't know that they're there when they're looking at, say, your post. So just keep that in mind. And obviously, to that point, keep your activity up so that they can constantly see what you're doing out there in the world. We are not going to say post every day, okay? We are not those people. So don't worry.
You don't have to do that.
You don't have to down a Ghost Cola or whatever, or Monster Rockstar energy drink and be amped up to do posts every day. Okay, we're not saying that. Just repost stuff with a comment or something.
Dan, do you remember Jolt Cola?
I do. The successor
We're dating
to
ourselves
that,
now.
The successor to that is Ghost, which has a label on it of you cannot drink this if you are under 18. So I had, I will admit, I've had a couple of them, and holy crap!
So if you need to pull an all-nighter, stock up on Ghost Cola.
Yeah, I'm glad to be doing this podcast after drinking one of those. So yeah. They work.
All right. Talk about the experience section. I feel like I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, because, from career coaches that I've worked with, actually the one career coach I've worked with, Tammy Palmer, who's amazing. Tammy has, said to me, when you're looking at your LinkedIn profile, you kind of want it to be like your resume. On your resume, you probably wouldn't include when you worked at, Starbucks, or when you were flipping burgers at McDonald's. Like, it doesn't relate to the career that you want. So maybe don't put that on there. Want to hear your thoughts, because really what I've included on my profile is really all of the experience that I have around marketing, because that's what I'm doing. But I definitely have experience that is not related to marketing. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I would definitely. I was, I was honestly, I was just thinking when you said Tammy Palmer, I said, why doesn't Tammy come up with a men's retreat? Why do the women always have to have the fun?
Men's retreat.
I think I will now, guys. We're going out somewhere, okay? So just trust me, it's gonna happen. We're gonna do this.
Men doing things for men is a great idea.
Yeah,
I think
we
it's
can do
not waiting
things.
for women to start something for you. I totally.
Oh, I am not even going there. I am not going there.
Back to LinkedIn.
Back to I did want to mention one thing, not to, before I forget. There's one thing that is kind of like what I call the flowers of the business world to give to somebody else, which is not only recommendations, because we know how awesome those can be and how good we feel after those, but the one that I think gets sometimes under the radar is the endorsements, and people have their feelings about endorsements. But to me, I think it's just a great way to, if you give someone a recommendation, that's fantastic, but you've done it, that's your one thing. If you're, if I was thinking about, okay, obviously I like Julie and there's a lot of skills she's awesome in, and I want to endorse her on various things. Well, chances are, and I wouldn't call this a given, but chances are there are going to be things that she will endorse me for as well in return. But here's the secret. Here's the secret one that you won't hear is I would encourage you to go to, you might only be able to do this, I'll admit, if you have premium, but if you go into the jobs section and you see certain jobs that are listed for yourself, like let's say in my case it's marketing director or chief marketing officer, there are certain skills that are listed under those that it will say you have 7 out of 10 skills for this position, or you have 4 out of 10 skills for this position. There are certain ones you should probably take a look at and go, oh, well, I have that, but it's not coming up. Why is that? Well, because it may not have that exact skill listed on your own profile, and once you do, then you can, have that listed as well. And it's not for the purpose, obviously, of applying for a job. It's just a good sort of primer to keep in mind, because you get up to 50 of these skills. You can list up to 50 different ways that you can have skills. I encourage you to go out and do all of them, use all of them, and you can change those up. But the point is that when you know what these skills that are being listed out there, besides what you already know, then this is a great way for people to really not only endorse you, but it's probably a great thing, even possibly for search when people are looking for a particular skill set. So just wanted to share that as well.
Dan, I just endorsed you on brand development.
Oh, well, now, I better do that. I don't want to, yeah. But,
I'm just going to go down and click.
And don't forget to put in, you got, like, if you got certifications or you've done a certain LinkedIn Learning or any kind of particular course or something like that, you can actually add those to skills as well. So it will say, was this skill done in conjunction with your time at blah, 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 or with in tandem with a particular certification. You can put that into your skills. It doesn't just have to be about your experience.
Yeah. I feel like we're running short on time, so I want to wrap this up soon, but I feel like
sure.
The recommendations section is the last one that I wanted to talk about. I feel like people very often don't have any recommendations on there, and I feel like that's a huge missed opportunity. And I feel like a good way to get people to recommend you is to ask them. Literally, there's a button there, and you can say, where is it? Let me see. Where you can specifically send it to a person that you want to recommend you. So if there's somebody that you just did a project for and it went really great, and you're like, you know what, would love for them to send me a recommendation. You can just click that button up there and you can ask them for one. So there's like a plus sign and you can click ask for a recommendation. And then you can search for the person in LinkedIn and then it will send them a DM with a link directly to give you a recommendation. So that's a great way to get people to actually do it. One step further would be to send them an email with the link to that as well in the follow-up when you're done with your project. And it also doesn't hurt to give them links to your Google My Business profile, any other things, whether it be Yelp or your Facebook page, any other place where you can do that, because that is the social proof. People want to see those quotes, those testimonials from other people, before they decide if they're going to work with you or not. So a great way to get recommendations from people is to recommend them yourself. If it's somebody that you had a great time working with, as a client, you can leave them a recommendation as well. You could be like, I did a project for so-and-so. They were so wonderful to work with. They were so organized. I love their thought process. That's not going to hurt for you to leave them a recommendation. And then that will give them a little bit of an incentive to give you a recommendation back.
Yeah, and I think the thing that we sometimes get in our own heads and in our own way with recommendations is we think like we have to have done work with them and they have to have loved us and they have to have named us as their godparents to their children. I mean, really, like that's all you need many times is what is a really good relationship. Like if you've had a good relationship with someone for say the past 6 months or something. I'm looking at one right now from a guy who, God bless him, he gave me a wonderful recommendation here, and vice versa. I gave him one, but we know each other. We're in the same circles. We're fellow marketing strategists, and he just had some beautiful, glowing things to say, and I feel the same way about him. Genuinely, have we worked with each other? No. Have I worked for him or him for me? Absolutely not. My buddy Mike is on there, and he wrote me one after we spent an hour or two just talking about something for a role he was going into. And, these things do not have to be all wrapped up in official work that you did for somebody. Yes, obviously you should do that for all of those people you've had good relationships with, but some of the best ones that I have received are from people that we have not necessarily worked with here at Caliber, but I just really have good connections with. And why not? I mean, if they have good things to say about you, it does not have to be in any way in an official work capacity. That's just a myth. So
I love that. All of that, 1,000%. And we need to wrap up, but the last thing that I want to say is that when it comes to recommendations, if someone gives you a recommendation that you don't want to show, you don't have to let it show in your profile. You could switch it off. So that's another nice feature, especially if maybe you've got an incredible recommendation that is a little older. Maybe you've got like 3 or 4 more recommendations that are more recent, but you want that older one to show. You can turn off the ones above it so that the one that you want pops up to the top and actually shows on your profile. So that's just like a little workaround if you want to kind of maneuver that recommendation section. Okay, Dan, I feel like we're good. Any final thoughts on LinkedIn profile optimization?
I mean, we just make it always this work in progress, and that is really the best thing I can say to you. It's never done, and nor should it be. You're always evolving as a person, as a professional. And for every new thing that you've got going on, consider it for your LinkedIn profile because it may very well be a great place to do that. And people don't know everything that you've got going on.
I love it. That's wonderful. All right, everyone, thank you so much. We are the Lead Magnets Podcast. I'm Julie Nichols.
And I'm Dan Gershenson.
And we will see you next time. Thanks so much.
All right. Take care, everybody.